Why should I forgive when they are the ones in the wrong? They don't deserve my forgiveness. Why should I waste my energy on such a vain pursuit? I'll just never talk to them again and never see them again. And then, who cares if I forgive them? What's the point of forgiveness if it means that I have to relive an experience with the very people that I want to avoid? Why should I forgive? By the end of this video, you're going to fully understand the purpose of forgiveness and how it can help you on your journey to becoming the best version of you. So, grab yourself a cup of tea, stay tuned, and let's talk about it. Hello, Howell family. I'm your host, HC. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Tea with HC, where we talk about the issues that concern you on your journey to being true to you. In this episode, we're discussing the purpose of forgiveness. Sometimes we are put through traumatic situations by the very people that we thought would protect us from such happenings. Because of our love, trust, and belief in these people, we are easily led astray and end up in compromising situations as a result. We become entrenched in toxicity because we come to be so confident in who we believe a person to be that we are blind to who they actually are. Thus, once we are finally disillusioned from these complicated and often emotionally scarring predicaments, it can be very hard to see those same people in a positive light. Because of this difficulty, it can seem counterintuitive to not hold a grudge towards them. However, forgiveness may be the very thing necessary for you to continue to progress on your journey to becoming the best version of you. For example, let's say your significant other, who you were very much dedicated to and spend most of your time with, breaks your heart in the worst way, with vain reasoning and a cold heart. Although this will have you mentally and emotionally distressed, choosing to hold a grudge in your heart long term is likely to have the same episode of pain and confusion played in perpetuity throughout your entire life. By choosing not to forgive yourself for your choices leading up to that point, you are choosing to be focused on what is blocking you, as opposed to focusing on how to overcome the blockade. And by not forgiving that person, you are making the choice to not learn from what happened and why and how you can either prevent that situation or do better if something similar were to reproduce itself in the future. Forgiveness encourages you to open your mind and soften your heart so that you are able to learn from what has happened to make better decisions going forward. I'll show you how forgiveness encourages a better version of you by inspiring a healthy personal relationship, encouraging self appreciation, and by inciting progress. Hopefully, then I'll be able to enjoy this warm tea. It's my favorite, ginger. First, forgiveness inspires a healthy relationship with yourself. Forgiveness encourages a better relationship with yourself by instilling the confidence to be who you are again, unabridged by past traumatic events. Ultimately, it is giving yourself another opportunity to be purely and naturally. The purpose of forgiveness is to relinquish the source of pain and to let go of resentment. It can be understood as you letting go of the chains holding you hostage to a reality that has passed. We often become emotionally attached to the presence of our own pain, so much so that it ends up becoming a part of who we are, thus affecting our worldview and the people around us. Forgiving yourself will encourage inner peace by suggesting understanding where there was once pain and confusion. For example, let's say you promised your kid's sister that you would get her a giant plush doll for her birthday. Because of this, your sister spoke about the doll all of the time and reminded everyone that you were going to get it for her. Then, unfortunately, and because of circumstances outside of your control, you were not able to get the plush doll delivered in time for her birthday, as you promised, thus leading her to be the most disappointed that she has ever been. This made you feel really bad because you always kept your promises. However, after the fact, you have two choices going forward: internalizing and holding on to that disappointment will have your entire demeanor shifted, and thus is also likely to have an impact on your relationship far longer and well after the event has passed. An absence of forgiveness of self will have you constantly reminded that you messed up and is likely to lead to further self sabotage and lack of constructive action because of it. Choosing to not forgive yourself is the choice to cherish that painful memory. And because your thoughts influence your actions, you are likely to follow with actions that would only continue your shame because you are the master of your reality. Following this example, this choice will encourage actions such as never making a promise again or avoiding getting your sister gifts at all because you are such a mess up and you don't want to mess it up again. These actions will only complicate your relationship with your loved ones and consequently confuse the relationship you have with yourself, further creating inner turmoil and distraught. In contrast, forgiving yourself would inspire a change in behavior because it is the acknowledgement of your mistake and the choice to continue to grow forward, thus untangling the mental knots of shame and self sabotage. Always remember, inner progress can only begin at the end of forgiveness because it is the closing of one chapter and the opening of a new. Forgiving yourself would encourage you to understand the gravity of the effect you have on your sister so that you can apologize in the correct way and so that you both can move forward in a loving and unconstrained manner. By forgiving yourself, you can begin to listen to how she actually feels about the situation, instead of how you believe that she would or should feel, fueled by your sense of guilt. As denoted in the example, choosing not to forgive ourselves encourages us to pile negative thoughts in our minds like residue that ends up clogging our thoughts, affecting our actions, and thus changing our reality. Forgiveness thus encourages a healthy relationship with yourself, and once that relationship is established, a healthy relationship with others is made possible. Second, forgiveness encourages self appreciation. Always remember, no one is perfect, and everyone makes mistakes, and everyone includes you. Forgiveness is important on the journey to becoming the best version of you because it is the acknowledgement of what was and a choice to move forward from whatever may have been in order to make room for what is to come. For example, let's say you invested everything you had in this one project that you thought would take you to the moon and solve all of your problems. But to your demise, it was the worst speculation possible because you lost everything you invested. This mistake may seem grand at the time. However, should you forgive yourself, it is the very mistake that will encourage you to do your research and to do better planning going forward, because you are made aware of exactly what will happen if you don't. Forgiving yourself will stimulate the will to accept your mistake, learn from it, and try again. Always remember, a mistake will continue to be a mistake no matter how you decorate it. Forgiveness is the understanding that it's okay to start all over again, because starting over again is an opportunity to build something great again for the first time. By forgiving yourself, you are reciprocally recognizing the quality, value, significance, and magnitude of who you are. Always remember, every single person that you have ever seen on this green earth has made mistakes. Forgiveness is the opportunity to accept your grief and to ascend past what no longer serves you, no matter how far down the hole you believe yourself to be. Not forgiving yourself is like being mad at a baby for falling down at its first attempts to walk. Forgiveness accepts that not because the baby fell down once, twice, or multiple times for that matter, does it mean that it is not worthy enough to be able to walk. Forgiveness is being that baby, finally being able to walk, and appreciating that yes, you were once falling and crawling on all fours, but that did not mean that that reality would forever be your fate. So, forgive yourself, appreciate your journey, and never let anyone hold your mistakes against you. Finally, forgiveness incites progress. To forgive is to solve a problem. Once forgiveness is genuine, it means that a chapter is closed and that it is time to grow forward. In contrast, holding on to resentment and contempt is like an unsolved equation lingering in your mind, irritating you every time that it is brought up because you haven't solved the problem yet. Thus, to forgive is to lobby for progress and growth. Think of it this way: if you've already solved an equation, no matter how the equation tries to come back in the future, you already know the answer, so it can never be the challenging problem that it once was. However, a problem unsolved, that is, ignored, can come back in your life in many different forms. And because you never faced the problem, it will be an issue every time. On your journey, certain situations and circumstances are living in your life long past their expiration date because you are holding on to the problem instead of trying to solve it. While forgiveness will give you the opportunity to move forward into spaces that deserve your time and attention, focusing on the past or holding conflict in your mind encourages stagnation and immobility. For example, let's say you're mad with your girlfriend who lives with you because she ate your special cookies while you were at work. These cookies were very important to you because they were given to you by your friend, a chef in another country far away, who had them delivered to you on his visit in town. You intended to save those cookies to enjoy them at a celebration in the future. Although you may feel disappointed, and rightfully so, if you choose to pout for months on end and hold a grudge towards a person that you live with, only worst can come from it. If you are making the choice to live with that person, avoiding forgiveness is avoiding the potential for better communication and better actions going forward in the relationship. As presented in the example, one moment can influence stagnation by choosing to hold a grudge instead of choosing forgiveness. That is like changing an entire route because there was a tiny bump in the road, as opposed to driving over it or around it. Forgiveness incites progress by aiming towards a solution to the issue, as opposed to simply aiming at the issue and focusing on how much you don't want it to be there. Forgiveness encourages acknowledgement of the issue so that you can better prepare for bigger issues when they do present themselves on your journey to becoming the best version of you. To put it all together, we can now assess that forgiveness can play a significant role in your life by inspiring a healthy personal relationship, encouraging self appreciation, and by inciting progress. We can now clearly see that not only does forgiveness have a purpose, but it is also a necessary element to having a fulfilled and successful life. What do you think about forgiveness? I would love to read your comments as I finish this cup of tea, so please comment below, like this channel, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. That's it for today's episode of Tea with HC. Hope it helped you appreciate the significance of forgiveness on your journey. I'll see you here next time on Howell Consultations, the how to being true to you.